Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Easy English Room. It's always a real pleasure to have you here with us, wherever you're listening from around the world. Today's episode is going to be something special because we're diving into ideas that can truly transform both your mindset and your English skills. And of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm joined by someone who always brings incredible energy and insight to the conversation. Emma, it's great to have you here. Why don't you kick things off?
Hello, everyone. A massive welcome back to the Easy English Room. It is so wonderful to have you all tuning in today. If you've pressed play on this episode, it's a clear sign that you've already taken that crucial first step toward becoming the most realized, most capable version of yourself. I'm Emra, your host for today, and I'll be your guide and personal cheerleader as we navigate some pretty big ideas.
Absolutely. I love that, Emma, and I'm really excited about today's topic as well. We're stepping into the world of self-improvement and better English fluency, and honestly, it's a powerful combination. We're broadcasting live from the heart of London today, and the energy here feels just right for this kind of conversation. Together, our mission is to help you not only master English like a professional, but also grow into the best version of yourself.
That's the spirit, Henry. That's exactly the kind of energy I love to hear. In a way, I feel like today's topic is just as energizing and refreshing as a fresh, hot cup of coffee on a crisp London morning in 2026, when the air feels sharp, the streets are just waking up, and everything seems full of possibility. There's something about that feeling of a new day that perfectly matches what we're talking about today. We are diving deep into the art, and I really do mean the art, of becoming the best version of yourself. Or, to put it a bit more bluntly and honestly, we're talking about how to finally stop hitting that metaphorical snooze button on your own life and actually get up, show up, and move forward. Trust me, we've got a lot of insights, practical tips you can actually apply, relatable stories, and hopefully a few good laughs lined up for you as well. Because, let's be real, self-improvement is incredibly important and even life-changing. But that doesn't mean it has to feel dry, heavy, or overly serious all the time. We can grow and still enjoy the process.
I couldn't agree more, Emma. Honestly, you said it perfectly. And to be completely honest, I think the best way to begin is by asking our listeners something a little personal, something that might make them pause for a moment. So here it is. Have you ever just sat back, maybe at the end of a long day or during a quiet moment, looked at your current situation, your habits, your routine, your progress, and thought to yourself, you know what, I could definitely be doing better than this. Not in a harsh or judgmental way, but in a reflective, honest kind of way. Because I think those moments of awareness, even if they feel uncomfortable, are often where real change begins.
Oh, Henry, I am absolutely guilty of that. More often than I'd like to admit, to be honest. And interestingly enough, I had a moment exactly like that just a few weeks ago. I spent an entire weekend tucked away in my flat, completely wrapped up in binge watching these intense, dramatic documentaries about people climbing the world's most dangerous mountains. Like extreme conditions, life or death situations, the whole thing. And don't get me wrong, it was fascinating and even inspiring in a way. But by the time Sunday night rolled around, I had this strange realization. I felt like I had mentally climbed Everest, conquered every challenge, and practically completed the entire Netflix catalog, but in reality, I hadn't actually moved an inch closer to any of my own personal goals, not even a tiny step. And that's when it hit me. It's so easy to get lost in other people's achievements, their journeys, their victories, while your own dreams and goals are just sitting quietly on the shelf waiting for attention.
That is incredibly relatable, Emma. Honestly, I think you just described something almost everyone has experienced at some point, especially now with so many digital distractions surrounding us in 2026, streaming platforms, social media, endless content. It's easier than ever to feel busy without actually being productive. I actually had a very similar wake-up call myself not too long ago. I remember looking at my to-do list one day, really taking a proper look at it, and realizing something quite shocking. I had been procrastinating on learning the guitar for, wait for it, 5 whole years. 5 years of saying, I'll start soon, I just need the right time, or maybe next week. And suddenly I realized how much time had quietly slipped by.
5 years, Henry? That's honestly impressive in its own way. That's almost as long as it took me to finally figure out how to cook rice without turning it into a sticky, clumpy disaster every time. I mean, seriously, I don't know how something so simple can go wrong so often.
Well, to be fair, rice is notoriously tricky. There's definitely an art to it. But jokes aside, those kinds of moments, the ones where you suddenly become aware of how much time has passed or how much you've been putting something off, are actually incredibly valuable. They might feel uncomfortable at first, maybe even a little frustrating, but they serve as important wake-up calls. They remind us that becoming the best version of ourselves isn't about making huge, dramatic, overnight transformations or taking massive, impossible leaps. It's really about the small, consistent, intentional steps we take every day. Tiny actions repeated over time can lead to big, meaningful change.
I completely see your point, and I really like that perspective. It actually reminds me of that classic piece of advice people often talk about, starting your day by simply making your bed. It sounds so small, almost insignificant, but there's something powerful about it. You might not feel like a world champion immediately, but at least your bed looks like it belongs to one. And more importantly, it gives you a small sense of accomplishment right at the beginning of the day. It's like a little win that sets the tone for everything else that follows, creating momentum in a very simple but effective way.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. And listeners, before we get too far into the details and really dive deep into today's topic, we've actually put together something special just for you. We've created a very handy and thoughtfully designed PDF specifically for this episode. It's packed with all the tips we're discussing today, along with a clear breakdown of the key vocabulary, useful phrases, and expressions from our conversation. It's completely free, very practical, easy to follow, and designed to help you get real value from this episode. You can simply click the link in the description to download your copy. I genuinely think you're going to find it incredibly useful and maybe even a bit motivating.
And on top of that, it's such a convenient way to review everything we're talking about, especially if you're on the tube, walking through the park, commuting to work, or just relaxing somewhere quiet. You can go back over the ideas at your own pace and really let them sink in. So, Henry, let's get into the real substance of today's discussion, the nitty-gritty, as they say. We've talked about those wake-up call moments, those little realizations that push us to reflect. But the big question is, what does it actually take to start that transformation? Where do we begin when we decide we truly want to improve? For me, personally, I think it all has to start with self-care, because without taking care of yourself, it's very hard to build anything else on top of that.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Emma. Really, you couldn't have said it better. Self-care truly is the foundation of everything we're talking about today. It's the starting point, the base layer that supports all the growth and progress we want to achieve. After all, you simply can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. Yet, for some strange reason, so many of us go through life acting like we're these bottomless teapots that can just keep giving and giving without ever needing to refill. We push ourselves, ignore our limits, and then act surprised when we feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or completely burned out. It's a bit ironic when you think about it.
That actually makes a lot of sense, and I have to say, it's quite a funny image as well. The idea of us all walking around like endlessly pouring teapots is oddly accurate. But honestly, I used to have a very different understanding of what self-care really meant. For the longest time, I thought it was all about indulgence, things like expensive spa days, luxury treatments, or having a shelf full of fancy skincare products. And while those things can be nice occasionally, I've come to realize that real self-care is much more simple and much more essential than that. It's really about meeting your basic, fundamental needs. It's about getting enough quality sleep, making sure you're moving your body regularly, eating properly, and actually remembering to stay hydrated throughout the day. Those simple habits make a much bigger difference than we often realize.
I can completely relate to that shift in perspective because I was honestly terrible at those basics for years. I'd get so caught up in work here in London, deadlines, meetings, endless tasks, that I would skip lunch without even noticing, stay up until 2 in the morning scrolling or working, and then wake up the next day wondering why I felt absolutely miserable. It was like I was constantly running on empty and expecting my body to somehow keep up. But things really started to change when I began prioritizing the small, manageable habits. For example, I now make it a point to take a simple 20-minute walk after lunch. It doesn't sound like much at all, but it's been a total game changer for my energy levels, my focus, and even my mood throughout the day.
It really is amazing how those small changes can have such a big impact, isn't it? And at the same time, I think it's important to remember that self-care isn't just about the physical side of things. That's only one part of the picture. Mental and emotional self-care are just as important, if not more so in some cases. Whether it's taking a few quiet moments to journal your thoughts, reflect on your day, or even just stepping away from social media and constant notifications for an hour or two, those small breaks can do wonders for your peace of mind. They give your brain the space it needs to reset and breathe.
Absolutely. And that sense of peace of mind connects directly to something else that plays a huge role in personal growth, a growth mindset. It's fascinating, really, because once you stop seeing challenges as these huge, immovable obstacles that block your path and start viewing them as opportunities to learn, improve, and adapt, everything begins to shift. The way you approach problems changes, the way you respond to setbacks changes, and even the way you see yourself starts to evolve.
I'm completely with you on that, 100%. I used to be absolutely terrified of failing. I'd overthink everything and constantly worry, what if I mess up? What if people notice? What if everyone in London somehow sees me fail? It sounds a bit dramatic now, but that fear felt very real at the time. But eventually, I came to an important realization. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually a necessary part of the process. It's how we learn, how we adjust, and how we grow. In fact, if you're not failing at something every now and then, it probably means you're not pushing yourself far enough outside your comfort zone.
That's such a powerful and honest way to look at it, Emma. I can definitely relate to that fear. I still remember my very first experience with public speaking. My hands were literally shaking, my voice felt unsteady, and I was convinced I was going to forget every single word I had prepared. It was nerve-wracking, to say the least. But the interesting thing is, the more I did it and the more I allowed myself to make mistakes without being too hard on myself, the more confident I became. Over time, those fears started to fade, and now, believe it or not, public speaking has actually become one of my favorite things to do. It's something I genuinely enjoy.
That's incredibly inspiring, Henry. And I think it really highlights an important point. Consistency is the real secret ingredient behind all of this. Growth doesn't just magically happen overnight because you had one particularly productive or positive day. It happens because you keep showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's difficult, and even when progress feels slow. That steady effort is what truly makes the difference over time.
Without a doubt, I couldn't agree more. I often tell people that while motivation can be helpful, it might be the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, it's discipline that actually keeps you moving forward in the long run. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is what keeps you consistent. It's those tiny, repetitive actions, the ones that might seem insignificant in the moment, that eventually add up and lead to massive, meaningful changes.
I completely understand what you mean. If you think about something like a workout routine, for example, it's not about having an incredible world-class session every single time you exercise. That's not realistic. It's really just about showing up consistently, even on the days when your energy is low or your motivation is missing. Sometimes all you can manage is a bit of light stretching or a short walk, and that's perfectly okay. What matters is maintaining the habit.
Exactly. And that's where your environment plays such an important role. Having the right environment, both physically and socially, can make the habit of showing up feel much easier and more natural. When you create surroundings that support your goals instead of working against them, everything becomes a bit more manageable.
I've definitely learned that lesson the hard way. I used to have a friend who was constantly negative about everything, every situation, every idea, every plan. And after spending time together, I would always leave feeling completely drained, like all my energy had been taken away. Eventually, I had to make a really difficult decision to step back from that friendship. It wasn't easy at all, and I felt guilty for a while, but deep down, I knew it was necessary for my own well-being and growth.
I completely understand how tough that must have been, but I think you made the right call. Both positivity and negativity are incredibly contagious, whether we realize it or not. When you surround yourself with people who encourage you, support you, and genuinely want to see you succeed, it's like putting high-quality fuel into your personal growth engine. It makes everything run more smoothly and efficiently.
That's such a great way to put it. And in a way, it's not just about the people you surround yourself with, it's also about what you're consuming digitally on a daily basis. I've made a very intentional effort to change my habits in that area. Instead of endlessly doom scrolling through negative news and stressful content, I've started replacing that time with more uplifting videos, educational content, or books that actually teach me something valuable. And honestly, the impact on my overall mindset, mood, and even my outlook on life has been huge.
I absolutely love that approach, Emma. It's practical, intentional, and genuinely transformative. And building on that idea, don't you think that continuous learning plays a massive role in this whole journey of self-improvement? I mean, it feels like growth almost becomes impossible the moment we stop being curious or stop challenging ourselves to learn something new, even in small ways.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. Continuous learning is such a key part of staying engaged with life. And the best part is, it doesn't mean you have to go back to university or commit to something overwhelming. Growth can happen in the smallest, most everyday moments. Even things like trying out a new recipe in your kitchen, picking up a book that's completely outside your usual comfort zone, or even learning a new skill online can keep your brain active, curious, and healthy. It's those little moments of discovery that really add up over time.
That's such a great way to look at it, Emma. I've actually been trying to learn Italian recently, not in any intense way or structured way, just picking up a few words and phrases here and there whenever I get the chance. But even that small effort feels incredibly rewarding. There's something exciting about understanding a new language, even at a basic level. And to be honest, it's also turned into a brilliant conversation starter when I meet new people. It adds a bit of fun and personality to interactions.
I can imagine. That must make conversations much more interesting. On my end, I've been exploring photography lately, and it's been such a refreshing experience. It's actually opened up a completely new way of seeing London for me. I find myself noticing little details I would have normally overlooked, like the patterns in the architecture, reflections in windows, or the way the sunlight hits the Thames at different times of the day. It's like rediscovering a familiar place through a completely new lens.
That's honestly amazing, Emma. And it's interesting because when you think about it, all of these different habits we've been talking about, learning, exploring, improving, they all seem to connect back to one powerful idea: gratitude.
I couldn't agree more. Gratitude really does have the power to shift your entire perspective. Instead of constantly focusing on what's missing in your life or what you haven't achieved yet, it helps you recognize and appreciate all the wonderful things you already have. And that shift in focus can make a huge difference in how you feel on a daily basis.
Exactly. I've actually started building a small but meaningful habit around that. Every single morning, I take a few minutes to write down 3 specific things I'm genuinely thankful for. And they don't have to be big or life-changing. It could be something as simple as the sun finally coming out over London after a cloudy week, or just enjoying a really perfect cup of coffee. But that simple act has completely changed the way I start my day. It puts me in a much more positive and grounded mindset.
That's such a fantastic habit, Henry. I do something quite similar, but I've made it part of my nighttime routine instead. Before going to sleep, I like to reflect on what went well during the day, no matter how small those moments might seem. It's such a calming and reassuring way to end the day on a positive note, and it really helps me sleep with a clearer mind. Now, Henry, speaking of things that can truly transform your life, you know what else I think is a total game changer when it comes to self-improvement? Communication skills.
You are absolutely spot on. Communication is one of those skills that affects almost every area of your life. You can have the most brilliant ideas, the most creative thoughts, and the best intentions in the world. But if you can't express them clearly and confidently to others, it's like having a treasure chest full of gold but no key to open it. The value is there, but it stays hidden.
That's such a great metaphor. It really captures the idea perfectly. And for me, improving my communication didn't start with speaking more, it actually started with listening better. I began focusing on what's called active listening, really paying attention to what the other person is saying instead of just waiting for my turn to respond. And once I made that shift, my conversations became so much deeper, more meaningful, and more genuine.
I can definitely relate to that.
To be honest, I've been quite guilty of the opposite in the past, thinking about what I'm going to say next while the other person is still talking. But once I made a conscious effort to truly listen, everything changed. My relationships improved, my conversations felt more natural, and I started connecting with people on a much deeper level.
Exactly. And it's not just about listening. It's also about how you present yourself, the way you speak, your tone, your body language, your confidence. All of these things play a role. Clear and confident communication can open so many doors, whether it's in your career, your friendships, or even new opportunities you never expected.
Speaking of opening doors, let me ask you this. Have you ever really pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone? I mean, truly stepped into something that felt unfamiliar or even a little scary?
Oh, all the time. And I won't lie, it's never easy. I still remember the very first time I had to give a big presentation. I was literally shaking, my heart was racing, and I felt completely out of my depth. But pushing through that fear ended up being one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had. It gave me a sense of confidence I didn't even know I had.
That's fantastic, Emma. For me, it was joining a salsa dancing class right here in London. And let me tell you, I have absolutely zero natural rhythm. I felt so awkward at the beginning, constantly missing steps and trying to keep up. But over time, I realized that being a bit awkward is just part of the process. And once I stopped worrying so much about looking silly, I actually started to enjoy it. It became fun rather than stressful.
I love that story. It really shows how important it is to embrace that discomfort. Because breaking out of your comfort zone is exactly where real growth happens. You can't expect to grow, improve, or succeed if you're always staying in the same safe, familiar space. Growth requires a bit of risk and a willingness to feel uncomfortable sometimes.
That makes perfect sense. And I think one of the things that really helps you handle those uncomfortable moments more effectively is being intentional with your time. When you have a clear idea of how you want to spend your day, everything feels more purposeful.
Absolutely. I used to feel busy all the time, constantly doing something, always occupied. But at the end of the day, I'd look back and realize I hadn't actually been productive. It was a frustrating cycle. But once I started planning my day around my real priorities instead of just reacting to whatever came up, everything changed. I felt more in control and much more accomplished.
I've had a similar experience. I started using a method called time blocking, where I set aside specific hours for focused work without distractions. And it's honestly amazing how much more I get done in less time. It really highlights the importance of quality over quantity, focusing your energy on what truly matters instead of just filling your schedule with endless busy work.
And of course, even with the best plans in place, things don't always go as expected, which happens more often than we'd like. And that's exactly where resilience comes into play.
Ah, yes, resilience, the often overlooked but incredibly important hero of personal growth. It's not about avoiding failure or never making mistakes. That's impossible. It's about having the strength, the mindset, and the determination to bounce back, learn from those experiences, and come back even stronger than before.
I completely agree. I like to think of resilience as a muscle. Every time you face a setback, overcome a challenge, or deal with disappointment, that muscle gets a little bit stronger. And over time, you build up the ability to handle much bigger challenges with confidence and calmness.
That's such a great way to describe it. I've also started to see setbacks in a different light, not as endings, but as redirections. Sometimes things don't go the way we planned because they're guiding us towards something better or more aligned with who we are. It really comes down to perspective. And I think what adds even more depth and meaning to that resilience is the act of giving back to others.
I couldn't agree more with that. Helping other people, whether it's through volunteering, mentoring someone, or simply being there as a supportive friend, can be incredibly fulfilling. It gives you a sense of connection and reminds you that growth isn't just about yourself, it's also about contributing to others.
Absolutely. I actually started volunteering at a local community center last year, and I can honestly say it's been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It's amazing how giving back doesn't just benefit the people you're helping, it also enriches your own life. It gives you a deeper sense of purpose and perspective.
And speaking of purpose, that really feels like the final and most important piece of this entire puzzle. At the end of the day, it all comes down to defining your values and truly understanding your why, the reason behind everything you do.
Without a doubt. Knowing your why is like having a compass that guides you through life. It helps you navigate difficult moments, make better decisions, and stay aligned with what truly matters to you. For me, it's about living a life that feels meaningful and authentic, not just chasing whatever version of success society happens to be promoting at the moment.
That's such an important point, because success without purpose can often feel empty, no matter how impressive it looks on the outside. But when you truly understand your values and build your life around them, everything feels more authentic, more fulfilling, and more aligned. And really, at the end of the day, that's what becoming the best version of yourself is all about.
Very well said, Emma. Honestly, that sums it up beautifully. Now, before we wrap up today's conversation, it's time for one of our absolute favorite parts of the show. We've used some fantastic language and expressions throughout this episode, and to help break it all down and make it even more useful for our listeners, we've invited our resident expert back into the booth.
That's right, Laura is here with us to go through the key words, phrases, and expressions we've used today, so you can start using them confidently in your own English conversations. Laura, the floor is all yours. We're excited to hear your insights.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to have you here with us today. A warm welcome to our listeners and to you, Henry and Emma. Let's start with self-improvement, the deliberate act of making yourself a better person through learning, new habits, and personal growth. Example, self-improvement starts with setting small, manageable daily goals. We also use the word legend, a person who is highly admired for their achievements or strong character. Example, Nelson Mandela is considered a legend for his leadership and courage. When Henry mentioned the snooze button, he used it as a metaphor. It means delaying something important you should do. Example, stop hitting the snooze button on your dreams and take action today. That leads us to a wake-up call, a moment that makes you suddenly realize you need to change something in your life. Example, losing his job was a wake-up call for him to improve his skills. Many people experience this after procrastinating, repeatedly delaying tasks that need attention. Example, she kept procrastinating and finished her project at the last minute. To overcome this, you need consistency, doing the same positive actions regularly over time. Example, consistency in studying every day leads to better results. You also need discipline, the ability to stay focused and keep going even when you don't feel motivated. Example, discipline helps athletes train even on difficult days. We also talked about a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities can improve through effort and learning. Example, with a growth mindset, she saw mistakes as opportunities to learn. A key part of this mindset is gratitude, the habit of feeling and showing thankfulness. Example, practicing gratitude can make you feel happier every day. This supports positivity, maintaining a hopeful and optimistic attitude. Example, his positivity helped the team stay motivated during tough times. We also mentioned the comfort zone, a state where you feel safe but don't face challenges or grow. Example, you need to step out of your comfort zone to discover new abilities. To grow, you need resilience, the ability to recover quickly after difficulties. Example, her resilience helped her succeed after many failures. When you make an intentional effort, you act with purpose and a clear goal. Example, he made an intentional effort to improve his communication skills. This often changes your perspective, the way you see or understand something. Example, traveling gave her a new perspective on life. We discussed purpose, your main reason for doing things in life. Example, teaching gave him a strong sense of purpose. And your values, the beliefs that guide your decisions and actions. Example, honesty and respect are important values in her life. When you live by your values, you are being authentic, true to who you really are. Example, he is authentic because he never pretends to be someone else. I hope these explanations inspire you to use these words as part of your English learning journey and encourage you to express yourself more clearly and confidently. Remember, small intentional practice every day, whether it's speaking, listening, reading, or writing, can lead to big and lasting improvements over time. Keep pushing beyond your comfort zone, stay consistent even when it feels challenging, and remain resilient, because every effort you make brings you one step closer to fluency and confidence in English.
Laura, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for that really detailed breakdown. I think what makes it so helpful is how clearly you explained everything in such a natural, conversational way. It doesn't feel like studying at all. It feels like we're just having a real talk, which is exactly what learners need.
It really does. I completely agree with you, Henry. Thank you so much, Lara. And I think a lot of our listeners will feel the same way. Sometimes just hearing ideas explained in a simple human way makes everything click much faster. It takes away that pressure and makes learning feel lighter and more enjoyable.
Exactly, and that's really what we try to do here every episode. Well, everyone, we truly hope that today's chat has inspired you, even in a small way, to start taking those little but meaningful steps toward becoming your best self. Remember, it doesn't have to be big changes. Even small actions every day can make a huge difference over time.
Yes, absolutely. And don't forget that progress is not always loud or fast. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and happening even when you don't notice it. So be patient with yourself, trust the process, and keep moving forward step by step. We're really cheering for you.
And also, just a quick reminder for everyone listening, if you want to go back and really review all the terms, expressions, and practical tips we talked about today, make sure you grab that free PDF we mentioned earlier. The link is right there in the episode description. It's completely free, it's very practical, and it's designed to support you anytime you need a quick review.
Yes, and you can use it while you're commuting, relaxing at home, or even just having a quiet moment with a cup of tea. It's made to fit into your daily routine easily, so you can keep improving without stress or pressure. Just small steps every day.
Thank you all so much for joining us here at Easy English Room. It honestly means a lot to have you with us, spending this time together and learning with us. We hope today's episode gave you something useful, something motivating, and something you can actually apply in your real life.
Yes, absolutely. And stay positive, stay curious, and most importantly, keep growing. Keep asking questions, keep practicing, and keep believing in your ability to improve. We'll see you in the next episode. We can't wait to have you back with us again.
You've got this. Seriously. One step at a time, one day at a time. Catch you later, and take care.